What's a baker's favorite song? I Can't Make You Loaf Me by Britney Spears. Welcome to the world of baking, a profession that is as demanding as it is rewarding. Bakers, the unsung heroes of the culinary world, are often up and at 'em before the sun even thinks about showing its face. Their morning alarm? Sweet aroma of freshly baked bread and pastries. This early bird is not just a mark of dedication, but a necessity. Freshness is lifeblood of baking. The earlier start, the fresher your morning bagel, your afternoon sandwich, or your dinner rolls will be. It's the clock, a battle against time, all to ensure that your day begins with the perfect, fresh from the oven baked good. So, next time you're enjoying that morning pastry, remember your baker was up before the rooster. Ever tried kneading dough for a living? You'll have biceps to rival a bodybuilder's. Welcome to the dough gym, where the only lift you'll be doing is with a mound of flour and water. Kneading, my friends, is the unsung hero of the baking world. It's the secret to turning a sticky mess into a smooth, elastic dough ready to rise to the occasion. So what exactly is kneading? Imagine giving a tough, stubborn knot a deep tissue massage. You're working it, stretching it, pushing it, pulling it until it surrenders and turns into a pliable, cooperative lump. That's kneading in a nutshell. And why do we do it? Well, kneading is all about waking up the gluten. Gluten, you see, is like a teenager on a Saturday morning. It needs a bit of a nudge to get going. Kneading helps gluten proteins to link up and form a strong, elastic network that traps gas bubbles during fermentation. This gives your bread that lovely, open crumb structure we all crave. But wait, there's more to this doughy dance than meets the eye. It's not just about strength, it's about rhythm, patience, and persistence. It's a full-on cardio session, mixed with a dose of Zen meditation. Oh, and did I mention it's also a fantastic stress reliever? Nothing beats the satisfaction of punching down a lump of dough after a long day. Now, if you're thinking, I'll just let a machine do the hard work, think again. Machines are great, but they lack the human touch. They can't feel the dough change under their hands. They can't adjust to the dough's mood swings. And let's be honest, they're not nearly as good at stress relief. So the next time you're kneading dough, remember, you're not just making bread. You're building biceps, relieving stress, and creating something delicious from simple ingredients. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that magic? And who said baking isn't a workout? Baking is just like chemistry, only tastier. Now, isn't that a flavorful thought? You see, baking isn't just about tossing some flour, sugar, and eggs into a bowl and hoping for the best. It's a science, a deliciously precise one, where every ingredient has a role to play. Take yeast, for instance. This tiny organism is the life of the party in your dough. It feeds on the sugars, releasing carbon dioxide in a process called fermentation. This causes the dough to rise, much like the excitement in a scientist's heart when an experiment succeeds. Just imagine for a moment that you're a yeast cell. You're at the biggest feast of your life, gorging on sugar, and then you start to feel a bit gassy. Well, that's what happens to yeast cells. They eat, they gas, they make bread rise. They're not being rude, they're just doing their job. But enough about the risque lives of yeast cells. Let's move on to the importance of precise measurements. You see, in baking, a pinch more or less can spell the difference between a heavenly cake and a culinary disaster. It's like mixing chemicals in a lab. You wouldn't want to accidentally create a volcanic eruption on your kitchen counter, would you? Measuring ingredients accurately in baking is as crucial as getting the right proportions in a chemistry experiment. A dash too much baking powder in your cake might just decide to overflow like a frothy science fair volcano. On the other hand, too little, and it could end up as flat as a pancake. And we're not making pancakes, are we? So the next time you're in the kitchen, remember, you're not just a baker, you're a scientist in an apron. You're creating magic with flour and sugar, just like scientists do with atoms and molecules. Only difference? Your experiments result in mouth-watering delicacies. In conclusion, baking is a symphony of science and art, where yeast plays the trumpet, sugar strums the guitar, and flour beats the drum. And you, dear baker, you're the conductor of this sweet orchestra. So, bakers are basically scientists with aprons. Who needs a sweet tooth when you're surrounded by sugar all day? Welcome to the sweet side of baking, a world where sugar is the king and flour its loyal subject. Here, we transform simple ingredients into delightful pastries and cakes that bring a smile to anyone's face. Imagine being in a kitchen where the air is filled with the scent of vanilla and chocolate. That's the everyday life of a baker. But don't be fooled. You might think being surrounded by all these sweets would make a baker's sweet cravings skyrocket. On the contrary, it's quite the opposite. You see, bakers are like superheroes. they develop an immunity to the call of sugar. They can resist the tantalizing smell of fresh-baked cookies, the allure of creamy frosting, and the siren song of chocolate ganache. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it. Creating sweet baked goods is a process that requires patience, precision, and a little bit of magic. Every cake, every pastry is a work of art, crafted with love and care. And let's not forget about the sugar. Oh, the sugar. It's the magic dust that turns a simple dough into a sweet symphony of flavors. But here's a little secret. For bakers, the joy isn't just in the final product, it's in the process. The feeling of the dough beneath their hands, the transformation from raw ingredients to a beautiful baked good, and the look on people's faces when they take that first bite. That's the real sweetness of baking. Now, you might be wondering, how do bakers not turn into sugar cubes themselves? Well, it's all about balance. Just like a cake needs the perfect balance of ingredients, bakers need to balance their exposure to sugar. A little taste here and there, but never too much. So, the next time you're enjoying a delicious pastry or a slice of cake, spare a thought for the baker. They've probably been up since the crack of dawn, working their magic, just so you can have a sweet moment. Bakers might just be the only people who can resist a fresh-baked cookie. A baker's tools are like an artist's paintbrushes, only flurrier. Just as an artist can't make a masterpiece without their paintbrushes, a baker can't create their delicious pastries without their tools. However, the baker's toolkit is a bit more doughy. Let's dive into it. First, we have the rolling pin, the dumbbell of the baking world. This tool is essential for bakers to roll out their dough to the perfect thickness. But it's not just for flattening dough. Oh no, it's also a great stress reliever and an excellent arm workout. Next up, we have the whisk, or as I like to call it, the dough DJ. This little tool does the important job of mixing ingredients together, ensuring everything is well combined. It's like the life of the party, stirring up fun wherever it goes. Then we have the dough scraper, also known as the dough mover. This tool is like the bouncer of the baking world, making sure the dough goes where it should and doesn't stick around where it's not wanted. The measuring cups and spoons are the baking scientists of the toolkit. They ensure precision because in baking, accuracy is key. Just like a scientist, they make sure everything is measured to perfection. The baking tray or the dough stage is where all the magic happens. It's where the dough transforms into the golden, delicious bread or pastries we all love. Last, but not least, is the oven mitt, the baking superhero. This tool protects the baker from the fiery heat of the oven, allowing them to retrieve their baked goods safely. Each tool plays a pivotal role in the baking process, and without them, well, let's just say we wouldn't have those delicious pastries to enjoy with our morning coffee. So remember, a baker without a rolling pin is just a Picasso without a paintbrush. And just like Picasso, every baker needs their tools to create their own delicious masterpieces. Ever wonder how a baker winds down after a long day? They loaf around. And no, we're not talking about the loaf that just came out of the oven. As the sun starts to set and the last of the pastries are sold, our baker finally has a moment to sit back and appreciate the fruits of their labor. The smell of fresh bread still lingers in the air, a sweet reminder of the day's hard work. But just like a loaf of bread needs time to rise, a baker also needs time to rest. After a day full of kneading, shaping, and baking, it's time to clean up the bakery. Sweeping up the flour, washing the mixing bowls, and polishing the oven door until it shines, the baker ensures the kitchen is ready for another day of baking magic. It's a bit like decrumbing a toaster, but on a much larger scale. Once the bakery is sparkling clean, the baker finally gets to hang up their apron and swap their oven mitts for something a little more comfortable. Like a piece of toast swapping its crust for a cozy blanket of butter, our baker settles into their evening routine. Now you might think a baker would be tired of bread by the end of the day, but that's where you'd be wrong. Dinner often includes a slice or two from a special loaf, saved from the day's batch. Because who can resist the allure of bread, right? It's a baker's perk, a bit like a carpenter always having the best chair in the house. And as they unwind, perhaps with a good book or a favorite show, the baker reflects on the day. Each loaf baked, each pastry sold, brings a sense of satisfaction. After all, they've spent the day creating something that brings joy to others. It's a feeling that's as warm and comforting as a fresh loaf of bread straight from the oven. So that's a wrap on a day in the life of a baker. Remember, behind every great loaf of bread, there's a baker who's earned their rest. As we've explored the life of a baker today, we've touched on the science, the art, and the tools. But what about the joy? There's something truly magical about creating something from scratch, transforming simple ingredients into a loaf of bread or a batch of cookies. It's a process that requires patience and skill, yes, but it also brings immense satisfaction. From the moment the ingredients are mixed to the time the baked good comes out of the oven, there's a sense of anticipation that builds. And when the final product is just right, the feeling of achievement is indescribable. Baking isn't just about feeding the body, it's about feeding the soul. It's about expressing creativity, love, and care. It's about the joy of creating and the satisfaction of sharing. So next time you find yourself in the kitchen, remember this. Baking isn't just a task, it's a journey of discovery, a celebration of creativity, and a source of joy. And that, dear viewers, is the true essence of baking. Remember, no matter how your day is going, there's always room for a little sweetness. And there's nothing quite like the joy of baking to bring that sweetness to life. Did you find this content useful? If so, please support us by giving us a like and subscribing to our channel. We're on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help to get there. Do you agree with our portrayal? Feel free to leave a comment below. And to end on a sweet note, here's a baker's joke for you. Why don't bakers ever go on a diet? Because they're always kneading dough. Share your best baking jokes. After all, laughter is the best ingredient to mix into your baking routine.